tipsforbadpainters.com. Hello, Mark here at tipsforbadpainters.com. If you don't mind, hold on just a second. I need to finish painting the eyeball on my tactical marine here. Hold on just a second. I can't believe it, not again. I hate it when I try to paint these small, intricate details and, my hands just start shaking, and it's just really hard to do. Well, fortunately, I have discovered a solution for this problem, and I'm going to share that with you today. So, the best way to solve shaky hand syndrome, like I have, is to make what I call a miniature stabilizer. And when you're done with this, you're going to be able to have something to put your model right on top of. That'll give you some mass to the model. It makes it much easier to hold on to, and you can even prop the model on the board and hold it steady by holding onto the table at just the right height to work at. And now I'll show you how I made mine. Okay, the materials you're going to need for this really easy project are going to be a large bottle of craft glue, your model cement, a very large magnet, a large round magnet, hopefully as big as possible. This might be a little bit difficult to find, but if you look in the hardware stores, you will find it. It's fairly thick and quite strong. You're going to need some washers, and we'll talk about what size maybe in a minute. You're going to need a hot glue gun, and you're going to need your model. Okay, the first thing you're going to have to do is to glue a washer to the bottom of your model like this. Now, depending on what you have at the hardware store, what you can find, you may not be able to find this exact washer. Some of them have different size holes in the middle. That doesn't really matter. The best case scenario, it's going to be the exact size as your base. You may only be able to find these smaller washers. These are a little bit more common, and if you have to use those, you may need two of them in order to fit it up inside the base. But that's up to you to experiment with. Just find whatever works. The important thing is that you've got some metal on the bottom of your model. Okay, the next thing you're going to do is take your hot glue gun, and you're going to make a fairly large splatter of hot glue right on top of that craft paint. And before it dries, you're going to stick this large magnet right on top of it and press it right down. Don't be afraid of using too much glue. You're going to need quite a bit. You do not want this magnet to come off. All right, there you go. Now you have your model stabilizer. Now you can hold the bottle on the table, or if you want to hold it in your hand while you're painting and get just the right light, you can do that. Or you can hold it on the table and paint at just the right angle. This makes things much easier. Now, in the interest of full disclosure, I do have to say that this is not my completely original idea. I did find it on the internet. I can't remember exactly where. I did have to modify it a little bit, though, because the original idea, the gentleman had used clay on the top, and he pressed the model into the clay. Now, I did do that a few times, and it did work really well. The problem is that when you're painting a whole bunch of models, and like if you have, like I've got a squad of my 10 stern guard here, when you're painting a whole bunch of them, it is kind of a pain in the neck to rip one model off and then put the other one back on and push it into the clay hard enough so that it would stick. And the clay wasn't entirely sticky all the time, so it was a little bit risky. By doing it this way, with this magnetized and having all of your guys magnetized like this, you can work on one model. You can paint a shoulder pad with whatever color you're working with. You can take it off, put the next guy on, paint another shoulder pad, take him off, put the next guy on, paint another shoulder pad. You see how easy that is? It is much better than trying to work with clay or trying to do it in your hand. And I don't know about you, but my hand even gets tired sometimes by trying to hold on tight onto the base like that, onto something really small. So hopefully this will work for you too. Okay, and now here's another advantage to doing this type of miniature stabilizer. After you have all the washers on your models and you're ready to prime them, what I've done is I've taken a regular scrap piece of wood like this and I've hot glued a sheet magnet onto it. You can buy these in a lot of different places. It's just a magnet that comes, you roll it out and it comes in a sheet. And what you do is you take your models and you just simply plop them right on there. And when you go to paint them, the air from the spray can, if you're using spray paint, a lot of times the spray will be enough to knock the model over. This right here, they're on there good enough. You can just hold those right up. You don't even really need a workbench anymore. You can take this outside and just start spraying away. I'm not going to spray these because they're already finished. I'm not that stupid. So another advantage to use this method is that when you're playing a game and you want to move your models around, if you've got a board like this, I just used a regular foam core board. I glued a sheet magnet on top of the whole thing. So this is a rather large sheet magnet. This is going to be a little bit more expensive, but you know, if you love your models, money is no object, really. But if you want to do something like this, you can put the sheet magnet on there. You've got all the washers on the bottom of your guys, and that way, if you are hurrying around, they're not going to be falling off the edge because they're now magnetized to the board. And you know, I've probably got about 20 or 30 hours worth of painting this unit of Hormagaunts that my son plays. And now, if you want to live on the dangerous side, you could even take the whole thing and flip it right over. Which actually, the thought of that many models come crashing to the ground is a little bit scary, so I'm just going to flip it right back over again. So, whew, and again. Now, if you're working with older models, especially the older metal ones, don't do that. Please, do not do that. And I don't want any nasty comments because you put a metal model on there, because it's too heavy. It's just going to come crashing down. Only do this with plastic models, please. The final advantage to having the washers on the bottom of your models is when you're working with terrain, sometimes terrain can be a little bit uneven, and the models a lot of times are a little top heavy, especially these Hormagaunts. You guys who play these know how easy they just tip right over because they're all over the place. So what's done by having the washer on the bottom, you've shifted the center of gravity much lower on the model, so it's a lot less likely to fall over. So you can balance it a little bit easier on a piece of terrain. It's just going to be less likely to fall over. And also, you know, I just like the feel of having a heavier model. You know, when you're moving models around, yeah, it just feels a little bit better having a little bit of weight on it. It feels a little bit less like plastic and more like, you know, something real. You just plop right down there. Thanks for tuning in to tipsforbadpainters.com. And if this idea works for you and you like it, you know, come back and put a comment below saying how much you think that, you know, I'm the greatest person on the face of the planet for showing you this. Well, that might be just a little bit, you know, of a stretch, but you could at least, you know, maybe say I'm a nice guy or something like that. I don't know. But anyway, thank you very much for your time, and we'll see you again soon for another tip on tipsforbadpainters.com.